Something strange happens when your awareness begins to change, and almost nobody talks about this part. Your mindset starts shifting first, your priorities feel different, your reactions slow down, and you think that's where the transformation ends. But then your body gets involved, and that's when people start getting confused. You may feel more tired than usual, more sensitive to stress, more aware of your emotions, and at the same time more alert, more focused, and more awake to what's happening around you. It can feel like you're losing balance right when you thought you were finally getting control, and that's when the doubt starts creeping in. You start wondering if something is wrong, if you're overthinking, if you're just burned out, or if you're changing in ways you don't understand yet. But what if these physical shifts are not a problem at all? And what if they are actually signals that your system is upgrading before your life does? Because long before your external world changes, your internal systems have to recalibrate, and the body is always the first place where that recalibration shows up. If you've been feeling off, restless, heavy, calm, and tense at the same time, or like your old rhythm just doesn't fit anymore, there is a reason for that, and once you see what's really happening, you stop fearing the process and start using it to move into a completely different level of confidence, clarity, and personal power. But the first physical shift usually shows up in a way that most people completely misunderstand, and that misunderstanding is where the real struggle begins. When awareness begins to rise, the nervous system starts coming out of long-term survival mode, and that shift does not feel the way people expect it to. Instead of feeling instantly energized and confident, many people feel unusually tired, heavy, and slow, even when they're doing everything right. Sleep doesn't fully fix it. Rest feels deeper than usual, and your body seems to demand more recovery time than before. This isn't because you're getting weaker. It's because your system is finally turning off constant background stress that you didn't even realize you were carrying. For years, your body may have been running on tension, urgency, and mental pressure, always ready for the next problem, always holding your breath emotionally, always staying slightly braced for impact. When that alert mode finally starts shutting down, your body shifts its energy away from defense and into repair, and repair takes resources. Muscles loosen, breathing patterns change, digestion adjusts, and the brain finally gets permission to slow down. That slowdown can feel uncomfortable when you're used to operating on pressure, and many people misinterpret that discomfort as regression, when in reality it's the system rebuilding its foundation. But here's where it gets more interesting, because once the body starts relaxing, it also starts releasing things it's been storing for a long time, and that release doesn't stay quiet for long. As emotional awareness increases, feelings stop living only in your thoughts and start showing up physically, sometimes in ways that don't make logical sense at first. You may feel tightness in your chest without feeling worried, heaviness in your stomach without feeling afraid, tension in your shoulders even when nothing stressful just happened. Old emotional patterns don't disappear through thinking alone, they unwind through sensation, and when your system finally feels safe enough to let them go, they come up through the body. This is why emotions may rise without clear memories attached, without obvious triggers, and without stories to explain them. It's not that new problems are appearing, it's that old reactions are finally leaving. And that process can feel confusing, because your mind wants reasons while your body is just following its own release cycle. Many people start questioning themselves here, wondering why they feel emotional when nothing is technically wrong. But what they don't realize yet is that their emotional capacity is expanding, which means they're starting to feel things more honestly, instead of suppressing them automatically. And once that honesty settles in, it begins to affect what your body is willing to tolerate in your environment, which is where things start changing in ways that impact your daily life more directly. At some point, you may notice that situations, habits, and even people that once felt normal now feel draining, heavy, or strangely uncomfortable, even if nothing about them has objectively changed. Your body reacts faster than your logic does, pulling back from noise, negativity, and constant stimulation. Loud environments may exhaust you more quickly. Meaningless conversations may feel harder to sit through, and your system may start craving quiet, space, and simplicity in ways that surprise you. This isn't because you became fragile or antisocial. It's because your nervous system is no longer numbing itself to overload. When awareness grows, tolerance for chaos decreases, and your body stops cooperating with lifestyles that require constant emotional effort. This is often when people start changing routines without forcing it, going to bed earlier, walking more, eating differently, spending more time alone, not because of discipline, but because their system simply feels better that way. But what most people don't expect is that as your tolerance for chaos drops, your tolerance for emotional manipulation also drops, and that shift changes how others respond to you in subtle but powerful ways. As your energy becomes steadier and less reactive, you may notice you no longer feel the need to explain yourself as much, defend your choices, or match the emotional intensity of others. Your posture changes, your voice slows down, and your reactions don't jump the way they used to. You still care, but you don't rush to fix, rescue, or perform. And this quiet stability can feel unfamiliar, even to you, because you may have spent years equating intensity with connection and urgency with importance. Now your body prefers grounded interactions over dramatic ones, and that makes certain dynamics naturally fade without confrontation. People may say you seem different, calmer, harder to read, or less reactive, and they may not even know why they feel slightly unsettled around you. That's because when your nervous system stabilizes, it stops feeding emotional cycles that used to keep relationships predictable. And when predictability disappears, some people feel it before they understand it. But what's happening inside you is far more important, because once your system chooses stability, it also begins choosing peace over stimulation, and that shift changes what you're attracted to in life. Where excitement once came from emotional highs, conflict, or constant activity, your body now responds more strongly to calm, order, and consistency. You may start enjoying routines that once felt boring, appreciating silence that once felt uncomfortable, and finding satisfaction in progress that builds slowly instead of dramatically. This doesn't mean your ambition disappears. It means your ambition becomes sustainable. Your system is no longer chasing adrenaline to feel alive. It's learning how to feel alive through presence. And this is where many people start realizing that they were never actually addicted to excitement. They were addicted to distraction. Now that distraction loses its grip, space opens up in your awareness, and in that space you start hearing your own thoughts more clearly, feeling your own reactions more honestly, and recognizing when something truly aligns with you and when it doesn't. But that clarity brings responsibility, because once you see what doesn't fit, you can't unsee it, and your body will not let you comfortably stay in situations that contradict what you now understand. As presence increases, time may start feeling different, not rushed, not heavy, but sharper and more real. You notice small details, subtle emotions, and internal reactions that you used to ignore. This can feel intense at first, because you're no longer escaping into autopilot as easily, and your body doesn't want to stay busy just to avoid feeling. Joy becomes richer, but discomfort becomes clearer too, and that clarity forces growth whether you're ready or not. You may start questioning goals you once chased automatically, noticing patterns you used to repeat without thinking, and realizing that some of your old motivations were driven by pressure instead of purpose. This is where real personal development begins, not in positive thinking, but in honest awareness. And as this awareness stabilizes, your body begins building a different kind of strength, one that doesn't rely on tension to function. Stress still happens, challenges still show up, but your body doesn't immediately treat every problem like a threat anymore. Breathing stays steadier, muscles stay looser, and your mind remains clearer even when situations get uncomfortable. This is not something you force. It's something your nervous system learns through repeated safety and awareness. Over time, your body starts trusting that you can handle discomfort without panic, and that trust creates resilience without rigidity. You become harder to overwhelm, not because life gets easier, but because your internal reactions become more flexible. And with that flexibility comes confidence, the quiet kind that doesn't need to announce itself. You begin trusting your decisions more, doubting yourself less, and moving forward without constantly seeking reassurance. But that confidence also brings restlessness, because once your system stabilizes, it starts pushing for growth instead of just safety. You may begin feeling a subtle dissatisfaction, not with life, but with staying in places that no longer challenge or fulfill you. Your body feels ready for movement, learning, and progress, not rushed but focused. You may feel drawn to improving skills, upgrading habits, and building something meaningful, not because you're trying to prove yourself, but because your energy finally has direction. This is when you start realizing that clarity creates momentum, and momentum creates identity shifts. You stop asking who you should be and start acting like who you already are becoming. And this stage feels exciting, but it also feels irreversible, because once your system adapts to healthier patterns, returning to old ones feels physically uncomfortable, not just mentally unappealing. That's when you realize the transformation is no longer just psychological, it's biological, and your body is now aligned with your growth in ways that won't let you shrink back into previous versions of yourself. Here's what most people never realize while they're going through this stage. When awareness grows, your body becomes your guide, not through loud signals, but through subtle alignment. You stop forcing yourself into environments that drain you, stop tolerating stress that isn't necessary, and stop chasing validation that costs more energy than it gives back. Slowly, steadily, you become more grounded, more self-directed, and less emotionally controlled by external pressure. Not because you built emotional walls, but because you built internal stability. And when stability becomes your baseline, your decisions become clearer, your reactions become calmer, and your confidence becomes harder to shake. If you're feeling these changes right now, nothing is going wrong and you're not losing yourself. Your system is adjusting to a higher level of awareness, resilience, and self-trust, and that adjustment always happens before visible success, before lifestyle upgrades, and before external recognition. This stage is not about becoming someone new. It's about returning to a version of yourself that operates from clarity instead of fear, from direction instead of reaction, and from confidence instead of constant effort. And if this connected with you, if you felt understood or recognized in what you're experiencing, thank you for staying with me until the end. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and keep walking this growth journey with me, because what comes after this stage is where everything you've been preparing for finally starts showing up in real life.